Hello, Sociology. How's it going, guys? I hope you're doing great. I hope you're ready for this new try and transition at online school for you guys. I know you got a lot of classes to worry about. I'm hoping Sociology can provide the outlet that it did before. But unfortunately, you guys got to sit through me talking about notes more now because we can't just do projects and stuff and present them because we're not in class. So, a little bit different change up. I wanted to show you guys how the classroom's kind of set up so you'll know what to expect. You can see a lot of stuff on my screen that's hidden from students. You guys won't see this when you go on there. But I want to start off by showing you guys up here at the very top, I've created this day-by-day checklist of what to do. Now you guys can only see one day at a time. I'll open them every day in the morning or the night before I go to bed or whatever. And you guys can see what you're supposed to do for that day. All right, so if we click on day-by-day checklist of what to do, it opens up. All right, we have Monday, March 23rd. That should be today you're watching the video, or I'm recording this the day before, so one of those two. And every day should have a checklist of things. Unfortunately, you can't actually check them. I don't know how to do that. I don't know if you can, but this will have to do for now. Number one, complete warm-up. Entitled What is Culture? And we will look at that together. Watch the lecture on a sociological look at culture. That's what you're watching right now. So if you didn't see the warm-up, then we'll look at it right now together. But hopefully if you're watching this video, I can get you back on track. Watch the lecture, which you're doing. Congratulations. The lectures I'm going to try to keep to about 30 to 40 minutes if possible. Each day, not each day, but each day, every 2 days, whatever it is, to try to, limit the time of you sitting at the computer watching me, even though I know you miss me, and I miss you guys too. I really do. It's a fun class. 3, email me your country's project with all partners' names on it so I can get a grade in there if you didn't present before the closure. Over spring break, I answered all the grades I had for you guys. So if you want to go ahead and check those grades, let me know if I missed something. Let me know if you presented, you don't have a grade in. If you didn't present and you know you didn't, you know who you are, email that to me so I can go ahead and get a grade in there. And we'll move forward with this new online checklist procedure type thing. And 4, complete the discussion forum entitled Learning How to Post on the Forum. That is due Wednesday, March 25th. It will close. You can no longer submit after 11:59 p.m. So make sure you get that turned in before then. All right, so if we go back to our class, we're going to try to check this list off, right? So we're going to scroll down. Also, down here these are our, this is the link to our class's YouTube videos. If you click on this, it's going to take you straight to our sociology. Right now, there's only one video on there, which I can see 30 views, 3 likes. Thanks, guys. No dislikes. That's what I'm talking about. So make sure you're able to keep that link in a good spot for you. And then this is a link to our first video. Welcome to our online classroom. If you didn't watch that, go ahead. So we're going to scroll down to our current class, Culture and Social Structures. I kind of want to reset. We're going to restart. We're going to take our note section today is going to be on a sociological look at culture. It's going to be a quick lecture. It's going to be a lot of review, kind of emphasizing what you guys did before the break on the culture projects that you presented or created. And we're just going to look at what identifies as major parts of a culture so we can move forward with that understanding together. So warm-up number 1. These warm-ups I want you to do before the notes, okay? I don't want you to do the notes because then your answer will be more complete. Warm-up number 1 is simply, it says, you should do this warm-up before watching the corresponding lecture. Please answer the prompt below in your own words or ideas. There are no wrong answers as long as you're on topic. As long as you're not totally BSing me and putting something wild on there. As long as you're really trying to answer the prompt and put your ideas onto paper, good to go. You should be able to type directly onto this. It's not a file submission. There should be a little box for you guys. Obviously, I'll get it and grade them. This response should be pretty short, 75 to 150 words. It will cap you off at 150 words because I don't want you to go too in depth or over explain. Or word vomit on the page. I just want you to, what is a culture? What makes up culture, right? It will lock you out of being able to submit it on Thursday, March 26th at 11:59. You should do it before then. but it will lock you out. No more people can submit. No more getting away with late work. 11:59 p.m., March 26th. All right, that's Thursday. The prompt is write a definition for culture using your own idea. So, what is culture to you? Okay. Then you will watch this. You'll watch this video, which will be here right above the notes. I haven't put it there because I'm creating the video right now. And in that video, I'll be going over these notes, this PDF file, a sociological look at culture notes. So if you click on that, it's going to bring up this PDF file, and these are our notes, okay? A nice and easy PDF for you to follow. That's what we're going to be looking at next. When you're done, this is due, let's see, learning how to post on the forum. This is due Wednesday, March 25th at 11:59 p.m. It will lock you out, so you need to have it done before Wednesday, March 25th at 11:59 p.m. If you run into some Wi-Fi issues, if you run into anything, you guys know I'm available to talk to. Give me a text, give me a email, whatever it may be, and I will talk to you about opening it up for you. I can do all that stuff from my end, so make sure you're being communicative with me and self-advocating for yourself. Please don't let this overwhelm you or I. We're going to get through it together, okay? This is all about, this is supposed to be a nice, fun little forum to post on, guys, because we're going to be doing some forums. I want you to post who you've been quarantined with. For me, I chose to do my pets, and I'll show you mine in just a second. And so what you're going to do is you're going to post on the forum. There's no word minimum on this one. Some of them will have word minimums if I'm having you elaborate on your perspective on something or whatever it may be. Okay, there's a typo right there. On the are such good boys. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. But yeah, so once you do that, you're going to post your own. Okay, as you can see, mine's down here. You can label it whatever you'd like. Started by me, Marcus Bronson. And you will post your own, and then you will reply to 2 different classmates about their discussion post. And it needs to be informative. It needs to be, you know, obviously this one about pets or brothers, siblings, or parents, or whatever. And it'll be a little more fun, silly, but you know, when it's a sociological question, and you guys know some of the topics here can be touchy, you need to offer good, respectful answers, either facilitating discussion, bringing more depth to the conversation, something of that nature. All right, here's mine. You'll look at it. You know, I put I put a picture of my little dogs here. Well, they're actually my brother and his wife's dogs. They live with me, and you know, I gave a little description. This is Olive. This is Chief, and you know, look at these 2 cutie pies right here, right? And down here, you can click reply, and you can reply to mine, and you have to reply to 2 classmates by Wednesday night at 11:59 p.m. It will lock you out. All right. So, without further ado, let's get started on these notes, all right? It's a new little program for me, so bear with me, all right? Hopefully my little camera's not in the way. Oh, it's in the way of a little stuff. I could fix that. Maybe if I move myself over here. All right. Yeah, so let's get started here. Culture, a sociological view. Like I said, a lot of this we've already done. You guys have did it on your own before with the project, and then we were going to get into this. And with this, it's going to open us up to talk about all of these specific things more in depth, all right? So culture, as you guys know, is the behaviors and beliefs characteristic of a particular social, ethnic, or age group. And we talked about how this can be broken down into almost any type of subgroup in any society. So really, as long as we pick a specific group of people that we're going to research or study or question, it can be any group. It can be a large Americans, or it can be gamers or athletes, or even more particular, like, you know, female athletes who play contact sports. It can be any of those, any direct subculture, as long as you're being specific. And it's made up of different customs. And in some of the projects we got to see presented, I know it wasn't a ton of them, we saw some of these different cultures, and they had different customs, traits, beliefs, morals, all of these different things. And all of these on the list are possible to be researched. Education, government, agriculture, economy, sports, how they take care of themselves, hygiene, religion, language, architecture, cuisine, food, right? Music, the laws, the gender roles, all of these things. So there's a ton of different things to look at in sociology. When we get moving on here, the notes are a little interesting, obviously, because there's, you know, I don't have to wait for you guys to write stuff in class. I can just move on. Of course, feel free to pause me and write. I don't know whatever's going to work best for you to take notes. I do want you guys to watch these videos. I know that they're going to be a little long, a little boring for you maybe, but it is going to be big, and important, come quiz time or come test time or whatever it may be. If I have, I can have a short answer question on there about something that I discussed in these notes. So you need to be following along still. I don't know if that means you're writing them down on a piece of paper like you do in class, or if you're just following along and you have the PowerPoint up for yourself. Like mine allows me to write on these, right? Like I can add notes and I can, put, hi, right? I can do whatever, and if you want to do that, that's fine. If I say, oh, that's important, you just want to put a star, whatever, you guys can feel free to do that. Okay, erase, 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 okay. All right, so whatever works best for you is what's going to be fine with me for notes. Just make sure you're following along and you're getting the information. All right. Customs, practices, value, and beliefs. These all fall into a major sociological thing. Customs are maybe, when observed, they explain the most about a culture at its core, right? You look at the custom and it can tell you so much about a culture. The example here is Japanese collectivism, how in Japan things are done for the whole. In a society, the society works together. It's never about the betterment of one person, it's about the betterment of an entire society. And that is going to shape almost everything else that's built around it. Whereas here in the United States, we kind of have built a culture of the opposite, where it is more important about the individual a lot of the time, right? It's not about the whole. It's not about everybody else. It's about you and your family, or you and your significant other, or whatever. And that's very different than other traditions across the world. And so it's about how do you present yourself, how do you act, how do you behave in society at a certain place, time. Is there adults in the room? If you're an adult, a room of adults and a child, can you speak, or is it only speak when spoken to, right? And this can be with women, children, whatever it may be, social class structure. The time. Do kids need to be in bed at a certain time? Those are all customs, and they may seem a little weird to look at, but that is the custom of a society, right? Is how should children act? How should children behave? How should women behave? What is their roles? Practice, things that people do that is a reflection of the culture. Practices are actual manifestations of the culture. And so these are things that can be observed, or these are things that can be seen in culture. And an example here, Muslims fasting during religious festivals, right? That's something you can go observe or partake in to make you more ingrained in the culture. So this is something, and we talked about sociology is sometimes a lot of stereotypes. You go to Venice, you better ride in a gondola on the rivers there, right? On the little waterways. If you go to Paris, you better go look at the Eiffel Tower, or the Statue of Liberty in New York. It's practicing these things that are part of a culture. So if it's in Japan, it's taking your shoes off before entering a room, or using chopsticks correctly, or practicing what they believe. This is maybe the best way to get ingrained into a society and a culture, and to adopt yourself into that culture or be adopted by said culture. There's obviously values and beliefs, what the group holds to be important. What do they believe? Western value of money, right? Hard work equals money. If you work hard, you can make more money. And these values and beliefs are usually ingrained from childhood, and they differ all across the world in different cultures. Does monetary, material things matter to a culture, or do they not? Right? Those are values. How do you raise your child? Are they choosing for themselves what they want to believe and what they want to do? Is it forced in the family, in the home? Relationships, are they taken seriously? Are they taken loosely? This could be family. Should they be should families live together and stay home, like in Europe in some countries, or in the United States, you turn 21, you got to be out of the house, that type of thing. And beliefs, intangible thought processes and ideas. So this is a lot of times deals with religion or other things of that nature. Example, Buddhist belief of nonviolence, right? Habit and a custom. A custom is practiced by a large enough groups of people that it becomes accepted, right? So for something to become a custom, it needs to be largely exhibited by that society. By that culture, excuse me, right? Or that subculture. For instance, Christians going to church on Sundays. That's become a custom that Christians do. And you can make a stereotypical assumption that if somebody goes to church on Sunday in the United States, they are traditionally a Christian because that is when they meet. Same thing, Christmas or anything, a lot of these religious events. And this can be a holiday as well. If somebody is celebrating, Carnival or whatever it may be, then they may be from a country that celebrates Carnival, Brazil or something. And a habit is generally traced back to individuals with wide variations from person to person. And this can be something like social anxiety of chewing nails in the United States has become a thing for the past decade or two. That's kind of what people do to exhibit those symptoms. But a habit is something that is not a cultural expectation, right? And that's where we have to be careful when we're getting into psychology versus sociology. Remember, sociology, study of the whole, whereas psychology, study of the individual. We don't want to get caught up looking at too many, habits that happen, right? If you want to know why do some people chew their nails or bite their nails, right? Why do some people tap their pencil on the desk? Or why do some people feel the need to speed when they're driving? Right? We want to make sure we're not getting too individualized, too individualistic, right? We want to make sure we're trying to look at a culture or a subculture as a whole. So it's got to be a custom that's practiced by a large enough group of people that it's recognized. Okay? So this is important, this slide, knowing the difference between a custom and a habit. Because people have habits. Cultures have customs. Okay? Language and gestures. So a lot of these things we talked about, and we understand you guys did your gotta get a little drink. Sorry. Hold on. Strawberry kiwi Capri Sun. It's really hitting the spot. Language and gestures. So this varies very, very greatly. You guys did a lot of different countries across your presentations. Hold on, my dog's barking. I'll be right back. All right, we're back with language and gestures, ladies and gents. Don't you worry. And this is obviously verbal and nonverbal ways that people communicate, and these vary so drastically from country to country. I know when we looked at body language, we saw that this sign means something, or even the thumbs up means something different here than it does in other countries. And obviously, the way we communicate with each other in each society is really, really great, right? It's really a big indicator of where we are, what type of people you're dealing with. And this is an interesting one when you look at subcultures, right? If you look at like gamers who type on the keyboard, right? They have little things that mean different, abbreviations of things that aren't used in the real world, right? Like GG, or texting is like LOL for good game, or laugh out loud, right? So all of these different things are popping up, and you'll have obviously things like sign language or any language that is drastically different, right? Not just a dialect of a language that can either connect people or separate people. It can build a connection that allows them to feel like each other, or it can build a barrier that makes them feel very different from each other, which can lead to conflict. So it's very interesting to look at the differences between languages and gestures, right? And how something in one language or one gesture in one culture can be a positive thing. And this could be a hand gesture, or wiping your plate clean, like eating everything on your plate can be a good thing. Or in some countries, that is an insult to leave your plate clean, or it means to them that you want more food, and they'll keep bringing you more food. Whereas in the United States, if you eat all the food off your plate, it means it was really good. All right. So strong connections to identity through language and even accent, right? Like we feel connected to people who speak or sound the same as us. And this can be this can be shown through even accents, right? Like the New York accent versus Boston or Texas or Midwest, or the California surfer dude accent, whatever it may be. It creates a divide or a bond between people who have these differences. And this can obviously depend on the scope you're looking at it, right? If you're looking at Americans versus Japanese, there's a big, then New Yorkers and Bostonians are the same. If you're looking at it as a regional thing in the New England area, then obviously these two are very different. And so it either builds a bond or it builds a divide, creates a divide. It can be nationalistic as well, right? French people speak French, whereas English and Americans both speak English. Spaniards speak Spanish, right? All of these different things have to be taken into account when looking at language and gestures. Religion, obviously a very, very big one, not only because the differences in religions that exist, but in some countries, in most countries, the integral part of a society religion plays, right? Early America, it was very important to those founding fathers that the Christian religion was pushed in their belief system, in the governmental systems. Now in America, we have strong divide of church and state. We have very big a gap there, a big divide between church and state, whereas some countries, the religion still is the government, the governing body, the governing factors is their religion. And obviously religion, the belief in and worship of a superhuman God. In most there's two types of religions: monotheistic and polytheistic, right? Monotheistic believe in one God, right? One person who rules over the earth or the universe or whatever the religion may believe. And polytheistic believes in multiple gods, many gods, some very many, some two, whatever it may be, with controlling power over the fate of the world. Right? And so in this religion, and also being thrown into this religion, has been atheists who don't believe in God at all, or what am I trying to think of? I don't remember. Right? But there's some people who believe like that there is an overarching power who has controlling power, but they're not involved in what happens at all. They just kind of create and watch, or there's a lot of different beliefs in religion, and they're usually so entwined in people's belief systems, even government systems, that it can create obviously a very strong divide or unity among people. A lot of it is due to the idea that it has an attached belief of an afterlife, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with the thought of death or afterlife, and they put a lot of stake or in the idea that they have more say or understanding in their religious belief. And it's usually combined with a moral code that guides a country. And we talked about morals being important to how children are raised, which children being raised with a certain moral compass or guideline is in turn facilitating the growth of the country's future, right? And so this builds this idea of right and wrong in the youth, which then is taken into practice when they're adults, and that controls their country and how they react or don't react to certain situations. So religion may be one of the most studied of sociological interactions, because some countries it's so ingrained in their culture, and some countries it's not at all. So very interesting study there in religion in different cultures. Government, obviously a very big thing. At the bottom here, as you can see, we have an example of Obama in the United States, a president with all of these different systems and laws and checks and balances, and about the government. And on the right, we have the Queen of England, kind of ruling over England in its own different parliamentary system. And this affects very much how the country is run. And how a country is run can impact the people on a large sociological scale, right? If one ruler or one president or whatever it is puts a law in place, it impacts everybody in the country. So it's the series of rules and beliefs towards leadership, and leaders matter throughout history, right? Whoever is leading, if you have somebody leading a country or leading a culture in choosing in which direction they are choosing to go, or creating the laws, right? The system of rules that people have to follow will change society, right? If they make a rule or a law that, murder is legal now, that's going to change our society pretty greatly, and it's going to change our sociological structure, because a lot of stuff won't matter anymore. Because does class system matter if you have a gun? Well, we would find out quickly, wouldn't we? So, government, very important for these countries, and how they work separately and together on a global scale, right? So it just depends, again, what culture, what subcultural culture you're looking at. A global scale, a single country, whatever. And so many different views out there of how a country should be governed, and the traditions attached with it, right? Are they a democracy where the people should have a say in what happens? Are they like some sort of off-brand of socialist slash communist country where, only the people have a say, or are they a parliament or a dictatorship where the royal people in the family, the governors or the government, have a lot more say than other people? So this will. Wait, why is it skipping that one? That's really weird, right? The government has a big say over that. Economy has a very big play on things. And economy is one thing that's changed pretty greatly over the course of time. And we have a widespread difference in the world today. As you can see on the right side down here, we have currency, right? A lot of countries have a currency. The United States uses the dollar. We have different, our form of currency. We have coins, and we have dollar bills. We have bills. In England, it's the pound. In India, it's the rupee, or what's it called in India? Hold on. India's currency. Rupee. I knew it. Yes. 1 rupee equals one. Not even a penny. 1/13. Wow. So it's less than a penny, barely more than 1/10 of a penny. All right. Yeah, so there's obviously many, many different currencies out there, and each country can have their own currency. Some countries use the same currency, and some countries are still on a barter type of system, as displayed by this picture, where they're trading what looks like some sort of pepper, or I know it looks like an orange, but I don't think it's an orange. But it may be for, some sort of rice or whatever, right? Barter system. So the traditional barter system versus money-based economy, and that obviously can change society pretty greatly. Are you trying to grow or, harvest rice or oranges to trade? And what is the trade value of your product? Or do you provide goods or services in exchange for rice, right? What is your barter in this barter-based economy versus a money-based economy where you work for a certain wage and then you get that cash, that money, and then you spend it somewhere for goods and services, right? So that will change very much based country to country and impact the society pretty greatly. Education, obviously very different as well amongst the world. In the United States, as you guys know, it's kind of a K through 12 traditional thing. You go to school for, 13 years, right? If you go 1st through 12th in kindergarten, 13 years. type of situation. If you go pre-K, it's 14 years of schooling, and then you can choose to not go any longer. You can go to secondary education or not. You don't have to, right? Whereas some countries it's longer, some countries it's shorter, some countries it's 5 days a week like the United States, some countries it's less, some countries it's 7 hours a day like the United States, some countries it's less, some it's more, right? So it's very different. And just the stress put on education amongst countries is very different. Some countries stress it very heavily. Some countries don't. Some countries stress necessary skills, right? They teach them how to survive or how to be farmers or whatever it is. And sometimes it's, in countries that don't have an education system that's fully functioning, it's very, very less formal education where they learn the very basics, and then they have to learn skills that will help them survive. Whereas in like Germany, they offer technical educations to students. In Germany, pretty early on, at some point they tell you you're not going to be a doctor or you're not going to be a welder, and they try to find out what subject area you're going to want to work in or excel in, and push you in technical or educational classes that will facilitate that skill for you. All right. Agriculture and cuisine. Obviously, cuisine is maybe the most interesting and fun one to look at because we all love to eat different types of food from around the world. And as you guys know, there's regional variations of food. It depends on what you have available to you. Is it rice? Is it noodles? Is it chicken? Is it whatever it is? And a lot of that is based on how we farm, how agriculture works. Whereas the United States, it's traditional family farms, and we have a lot of machinery and technology and innovation that's been dumped into the agricultural field, right? Where we have different, pesticides or things we can put on our crops or, feed to the animals or use to harvest or plant that has accelerated these, the land from rejuvenating and being able to make a harvest again, versus other places that still use traditional hand picking or growing or whatever. And this may depend on what grows well in that area of the world. And so this is kind of something that is built and based on geography almost more than anything. Geography and also the ability to get it done, to be able to have money and innovation and things like that. All right. And for some people, it's to feed members of a full society, right? In the United States, they're trying to feed the full society of people. And in some, it's to feed your family, right? Each family kind of does their own thing. They make their food so that their family could survive, and then they use it to barter for others. Sport or sports and recreation. Obviously, the United States, it's very, very ingrained into our culture. Sports is. But even in the United States, there's a large difference among the geographical areas, right? In Texas, it's all about football, and in Minnesota, Minnesota, it's all about hockey, right? So even in our own culture, there's variance, right? And why is that? That may be a good thing, a good cultural question to look like. Why is soccer so large in the Europe, but so unimportant really still in the United States? That's a good question. Or rugby in Australia, or horse racing, right? Whatever it may be. In some countries, it's physical activities, right? It's not necessarily sports. It's running or mountain biking or kayaking or recreational things. Disc golf or like when I was going to NAU, a big one that was popping up at the time was Quidditch, right? They would actually play Quidditch, and that always, I wouldn't say intrigued me to play, but it intrigued me as an idea. And now we have things like esports popping up, right? That is a huge cultural shift, is kids not playing traditional sports and moving to a more esport environment. That's a big cultural shift. And why is that happening? What does it mean for society, right? What does it mean for the child, right? Not just the individual, but the entire generation of boys and girls coming up not playing traditional sports, but playing online sports. How's that going to affect their futures? How's that going to affect their um, jobs and their ability to interact. Is it or is it not? Right? Is it going to create this society of kids who aren't as tough because they, didn't get, beat up on the football field or, break an ankle playing soccer? Is it going to impact them in that way or no? And we'll have to see. That's an interesting study. These recreational things are becoming very important in our society. And this is used as a way to build bonds, right? And that too, if you're looking at the esports case. Are bonds with people going to be less? Or is it going to be more? Because I know I play a lot of video games and I talk to my friends every single night for hours while we play games. So how is it going to impact society? Good question. All right. Dance and music. For some people, music is the biggest cultural identifier. It is their thing, right? They have to have music in their life. And in a lot of cultures, that is ingrained more culturally than individually. I'm just gonna say, like in the United States, I don't feel like music is necessarily a cultural thing. I think there are subcultural groups of music, like country. You get a country fan, diehard country fan, right? They wear the boots, they wear the big belt buckle, they wear the hat, the hats. I'm sorry if you're a cowboy out there. I know it's not a hat. I forget what I was gonna say. I got a text and now I lost my train of thought. Oh, cultural subgroups of music, right? In the rap or something like that. Very strong ties to that type of group and lifestyle, right? And like I said, there's a lot of stereotypes in culture. If someone is a country listener or a rap listener, we immediately build a picture in our mind of that person. Right or wrong, we do that. Right? And that varies culture to culture. So it'd be interesting to ask people not American, when you think of American music, what do you picture? Paint the picture of a person. Is it a country boy? Is it a rap guy? Is it a disco DJ? Right? EDM DJ or whatever? Is it, some punk band? Who knows? And this could vary. Age gap, right? Are they older? Are they younger? Are they my age, right? Because for me, growing up, music was grunge bands, Fall Out Boy, Green Day type thing, right? Pop punk type era. For you guys, it's very different. So that is an interesting one. Music. Dancing is a very large part of South American culture. Would you consider dancing a big part of our culture musically and artistically in the United States? Maybe if you're a big country dancer, right? Or if you're, I know in the rap space, something like, the Millie Rock or the Dougie or whatever it is catches on and it spreads like wildfire for a couple of months. And then it kind of goes away. As something else hits, right? So very interesting look at here. How does this impact culture and society? And to you guys, I think these things, dance and music, sports, those things to you sociologically are, that's it. That's your culture to you. It's not the government. It's not language, because it's not something you think about, right? Or you partake in or interact in. Whereas something like this, dance and music, yeah, it makes a difference in your mind. When you think of Colombian music, or you think of American music, when you think of sports, right? You and the average teenager in Colombia, like if we took an American, a Colombian, and a Spaniard and put you together and asked you to make up the normal childhood, they'd be very different. Culturally, why? Okay? And it deals with more than just the type of music, right? That comes from things that are like morals, values, government, expectations. And those trickle down into your life. All right. Big thing here, festivals, holidays, right? 4th of July in the United States. Almost every country has some sort of celebration of independence. Different days, right? To us, doesn't matter what the other ones are. 4th of July, right? That's ours in the United States. And these things Very greatly, right? There's some in different countries. Carnival in Brazil is a huge one where, they literally suspend work and for like 3 days, and it's a huge party. Independence Day in basically Australia, they all have them where it's a huge party, right? St. Patrick's Day in Ireland or whatever it may be. In the United States, we have 4th of July, right? Religions have these things. Easter, Christmas in the Christian religion. You have, Kwanzaa, it may be, or you have, in the Jewish holiday, Yom Kippur, or I don't know. I'm not very well versed in different holidays around the world. But a lot of them are connected to religious things as well, right? And you may not know about them and they don't apply to your culture. And so, again, a big cultural discrepancy. And if we asked why, now festivals and holidays may be a little bit easier to identify because you just find out the purpose for the holiday and then you'd be good to go, right? But that's an interesting one too, festivals and holidays. Etiquette, we're getting into these things that are much more like almost picky to look at, right? The etiquette, the expected behaviors for someone living in the culture. How do you approach somebody? In the United States, you shake hands, right? Other countries, you give them a kiss on the cheeks, right? Both cheeks, baby, bam, bam, right? You got to give them 2 times. 2 times kisses, right? That's the culture. That's what they do there. That's how they greet each other. In some countries, you say hello to everybody in the room. You say goodbye to everybody in the room. In America, you just kind of walk in. You're like, hey, what's up, guys? And that addresses everyone. That addresses the elderly, right? That addresses the babies, your friends. That's what it is. All right. But how do you interact on a normal day-to-day basis, right? Behaviors and actions and the reasons for doing it. That's the important part with etiquette. The reason for doing those behaviors. Example, giving up a bus seat to an elderly person out of respect. Right? A pregnant lady walks into we don't have a ton of public transportation here, but an elderly woman walks up, or a pregnant woman, you're supposed to give your seat up to them, right? Why is that? Out of respect for their situation, whatever it may be, but etiquette, and this is, there's food, cuisine etiquette, etiquette with your elders, etiquette, with a certain religion on a certain day, whatever, right? But etiquette, the reason for our behaviors. If you're living within that culture, do you take your shoes off? Do you take your hat off? Those type of things, all right? Do you call them Mr. and Mrs.? Yes, sir, no, sir? Do they have a certain name that, like senorita versus senora in Spanish, right? In the Spanish language. Why? Okay. Architecture, another one. If you're interested in this, like music or sports, it could be super interesting to you, right? A particular way in which the society expresses their vision of what culture should be. In some cultures, very efficient architecture, very efficient, right? You don't want to waste space in the outside world or on the inside. Whereas in America, we have this very spacious architecture, right? Even when you go to a hotel, like for instance, the example, you want to feel spacey, you want to feel at home, that you can relax, right? You're there for leisure. And at home, we've gone through a cultural shift in just the United States where you look at a house from the 1970s, every room is compartmentalized, right? Bedroom, bathroom, dining room, kitchen, living room, and there's walls everywhere. You can't see past anyone. Whereas now we've kind of opened up to this open concept where we want to be able to see from the kitchen to the living room to the dining room, right? Sometimes the kitchen and the dining room are all one area. So we've gone through our own cultural changes, right? And that's important in sociology too. You can change things, right? Practicality, though, is important in this too, okay? Architecture. And we can look at architectural changes in certain eras or geographical geographical areas, right? Whether it's Gothic or Roman Greco or whatever it may be, right? I'm not a big architectural guy. But, some countries, they build up, right? New York, you're building up. You want to build high skyscrapers. And in some, with a lot of tornadoes, like states with tornadoes, you can't build up. It's dangerous to build up. They have to build flat, like one long, giant, one-story buildings, because if a tornado comes through, it won't rip them apart like it will skyscrapers. Work ethic, a big one too. And this varies country to country, kind of. And this can vary things like government and stuff, and the currency that you are rewarded with. Some societies value a hard day's work. You can be proud of the work you've put in. Whereas some people, like for instance, the example here, Spanish siesta midday breaks, right? They literally have a siesta. That means nap, right? Which is the best type of fiesta that there is, mind you. Midday break. You know, you come home. Some countries, you leave work, you come home and eat lunch as a whole family, you go back to work. Japanese, they work dawn to dusk, right? And so this obviously, I'm trying to speed up at the end here because I know I'm getting kind of lengthy and I don't want you guys to tire too quick. All right. Gender roles in courtship, very different, two different major things here. Obviously for male, female, how they should look, how they should act, how they should be in the family, how they should be in a marriage, a relationship. Should the man be in charge of the relationship and the female does what they say? Should the man look a certain way? Should the whatever it may be, and these things vary country to country. Gender roles, the perceived set of standards and actions for a male and female within the society. So both roles, both genders have roles that they should be taking up, right? And in the United States, we've seen a large change in just the United States culturally over the years, right? We used to have Republican motherhood, it was called, where women stayed home and that was their job. They cleaned, cooked, took care of the husband and the children, got them ready to become future people, leaders of the United States. And that was their job. Now, it's changed where if women want to go get a job doing whatever they would like to do, that's perfectly fine. So there's been a large change in just the United States in our view of gender roles. In courtship, obviously the United States versus India, two very, very different practices, whereas arranged marriages are slowly starting to decrease in number around the world, but still very, very much exist. Medicine, you have very strong differences in just the United States as well as Western versus Eastern medicine. Religions have different views on medicines, whereas some religions will not rely on Western medicine. They believe in their religion, not just the example I gave here of Jehovah's Witness refusal to accept blood transfusions. Some of them still will. Obviously, this again is a generalization, right? We talked about how generalizations must be made and stereotypes. Prayer is a substitute for medicine for some people, or rituals, right? If you have an Eastern medicine where they use not like witch doctors, but maybe they're called witch doctors in some cultures, but they use rituals or they have their own beliefs. And Indians, some Indian cultures have traditional dances that they do to heal their sick and wounded. So medicine, an interesting one that changes very, very greatly depending on where you are studying. Grooming and dress, obviously clothes, right? Fashion for so many people is drastically different depending on where you're looking. And the interesting with dress, like fashion, is in a lot of countries, and we saw this in the presentations that were given, some countries have traditional and modern dress, right? Where they wear traditional or modern clothing out in public, but they still have traditional dances, celebrations where they bring out colorful, festive, traditional garb for them to wear to flash back and remember those celebrations, right? So that's interesting here too. Whereas, for us, we don't really flash back to colonial times unless it's like, Thanksgiving, and we have kindergartners putting on the first Thanksgiving play, right, where they're dressing them as pilgrims and Indians. But other than that, we don't really flash back to colonial times that often. Grooming and hygiene, Western women are expected to shave their legs, whereas that's not the truth in all countries. And why is that expectation, or why is that that standard applied here and not everywhere? Bathing, why is it expected you bathe yourself, shower at least once a week, or once a day in the United States? right? Very big difference there. Personal care, all these different things, hygiene. Why does that differ from country to country? It could be accessibility. It could just be cultural expectancy, though. All right. And the last thing we're going to talk about here is technology. So, the last thing is technology and how that differs in each culture. Because the biggest thing here is the availability of technology and the ingenuity and innovation to progress technology. Some societies embrace technology, like the United States embraces technology. They're always trying to push forth new technology that will be ingrained and adopted into society in some way or the other. Some societies push or refuse technology. They want to hold on to traditional methods. The most blaring example in the United States is the Amish rejection of most modern technology. Right? They still like to do things traditional ways. And some cultures vary differently. Some subcultures vary differently, right? Where, even in sports, like an example for me is baseball, right? We could use a computer that tracks balls and strikes, but they don't, right? They're rejecting that technology and they're choosing to still have an umpire who makes human error call the game, which I agree with, by the way. I don't think we should do balls and strikes by a computer in baseball. All right? Not that that matters, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. And also, they are adopting it by using instant replay, right? So it varies very greatly depending on what you're looking at. I'm going to call it here. I think we got through a pretty good amount here. This is about 40-minute lecture with the additionals at the beginning of telling you about the class and what you should look to do. Thank you guys for sticking through. I hope you guys are excited about getting this online classroom started, because it looks like we're going to be here for a couple weeks. Please feel free, give me an email, give me a text about, if you have any questions about what needs to be done or about the lecture. If you want me to explain or elaborate more, let me know. I'm trying to work on the quality of the sound and the video as much as I possibly can to make it just a better experience for everybody involved. Thank you guys. I'll talk to you soon, I hope. I hope you guys are doing good. I miss you guys. All right. Peace out.